For this example, we're going to be evaluating these 8 different log expressions. So for the first one, log base 3 of 1/9 is really asking 3 to what power gives you 1/9. So don't be worried about the fraction, just focus on the 3 and the 9. So 3 to what power gives you a 9? That would be 3 to the second power. But because the 9 is in the denominator, you need to add a negative to your answer, and here's why. If I rewrite this as an exponential expression, this is 3 to the negative second, gives me an answer of 1/9. 3 squared is 9, but that negative on the 2 means take the answer of 9 and flip it. So the reciprocal of 9 is 1/9. So 4 to what power gives me an answer of 64? 4 to the third power gives me an answer of 64, but because the 64 is in the denominator, you need to add a negative to your answer. 2 to what power gives me an answer of 2? 2 to the first power, but because the 2 is in the denominator, I need to add a negative. 5 to what power gives me an answer of 125? 5 to the third, but again, because it's in the denominator, I need to add a negative. The next 3 are unique in the fact that the base is larger. This is called the base. It's larger than the argument. So when the base is larger than the argument, you're probably going to be taking the square root or the cube root or the 4th root, 5th root of the base in order to make it smaller. So let's start with 49. What root can I take of 49 to get an answer of 7? Well, that's just the square root. So to represent the square root as a fraction, we write it as 1/2. 49 to the 1/2 power gives me an answer of 7. So for the next one, 216. What type of root am I taking of 216 to get an answer of 6? I would have to take the cube root of 216 because 6 times 6 times 6 gives me 216. So to represent the cube root as a fraction, I'm raising 216 to the 1/3 power. For the next one, the base is 121, so what type of root am I taking of 121 to get 11? Well, that's just the square root. Remember, the square root written as a fraction is raising it to the 1/2 power. The last one is probably the most challenging because of the following. If I start with base 16 and say 16 to what power gives me 64, that's not going to be a whole number. 16 to the first is 16, and 16 squared is 256, way larger than 64. So we're going to kind of do what we did on these last 3 and see if we can take a root. So if I start with the square root of 16, that gives me an answer of 4. But I need to get 64. I can actually modify 4 to get 64. If I raise that to the 3rd power, that gives me an answer of 64. So what I did to 16 is first I took the square root, which is raising it to the 1/2, but then I raised that answer to the 3rd power. So I need to raise that answer to the 3rd power. So this happens to be 3/2.